Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, classic, last non-classic. That's episode number 21, 20, excuse me, not 21, 2313, and double number 2207. Yeah, basically, Spider-Man and X-Men again. We're reviewing Masterworks, The Amazing Spider-Man, Volume 19, which collects issues Amazing Spider-Man 183, the 202, Annual 13, and the very first annual First Attack with Spider-Man. Yep, we're covering that in here. Now, Mark Wolfman is the main writer for pretty much all things Amazing Spider-Man. The only thing that's not right in here is the Second Spider-Man annual. That's about by Bill Mantlo. Keith Pellard does 193, 185, 197, 200, 202 in the annual. 196 is done by Al Milgrom. Sal Buscema does 198, 199. The annual is done by John Byrne. The annual artwork is done by Rich Buckler. The book covers the period of June 1979, and this will surprise you, March 1980, which basically means with this book, I'm out of the 70s when it comes to Amazing Spider-Man. Also, it is the very first Marvel comic I have basically done a review for where I reviewed over 200 issues in a row with this thing. Yes. So, in this particular book itself, we have, we're in 183, we have Return of the Human Fly, first time since annual number 10. Yes. Yeah, and mostly do with stuff related to this. Also, we also return to this guy with the green hat. Who is he? Well, we'll find out later who the heck he is, because the whole reason why this guy is here is to reveal basically what happened to 200. So, he fights him and Fly in this issue, defeats him, and then 194 is debut of a character who's still on this very day. First out as a villain, then become an anti-hero, and then become a full-blown villain thanks to Dan Slott, and then basically back to anti-hero again, even having 2 ongoing series, and a mini-series written by the same guy, Jed MacKay. What character is this? The Black Cat. Yep, this issue in particular is her debut. According to the introduction to this book, her real name, Felicia Hardy. Felicia comes from Felix the Cat, obviously. The name Hardy comes from the Hardy Boys. No, not the wrestling tag team. The detective boys that basically, detective teenagers that started back in the 1950s. My dad started reading those books. I read them. They're really good books. So basically we saw Black Cat, where she's in the opening page of the issue, which good on Marv Wolfman basically allowing to do this. They'll keep throwing a brand new character here. He's also the editor of this issue, which is interesting. So, yeah, basically a Black Cat just spooking people. Excuse me. We also see this guy named Reinhardt. Who is this guy, you might ask? Well, they revealed that into issue 198 of who the heck this guy is. Oh, by the way, apparently in these issues, because Peter does a whole thing with him and Jameson, because Jameson picture, so Peter's working for the Daily Globe. Yep, he's working for the Daily Globe. Takes on Black Cat in this issue. Shares her for his first kiss with her. First of many, many times shares a big smooch with this beautiful babe. Yeah, it's a good start, and then of course basically we're leading to 195, which still relates to the Black Cat. Yep, she's in here for 3 straight issues, and she's absent for a little while. Yep, so, and of course basically Betty of course tries things, basically the whole thing of like her and Ned basically is like, because he does not want to mess with someone who's married, so basically he says something wrong and gets slapped for it, and she walks off. And of course, because somebody said basically, May, that she's taking it to. Then we see this guy thinks like, I think this would be her father. So reveal her little backstory. Or Felicia Hardy, when she's not being the Black Cat, she's a fashion person. Someone who loves fashion. So she steals stuff. Yep, and then she just disappears. And then Peter gets a telegram that his aunt has passed away. Yep. So, and then we open the issue with Peter in a sling. And you're thinking, wait, what the heck just happened here? Oh yeah, because Peter injured his arm during this fight, during the whole thing with Black Cat. So we have Aunt May, and of course he's angry at Reinhardt for this, and she's supposedly dead. Well, one of like 2 times ever in Spider-Man history where Aunt May is declared dead. Well, we'll get to the reason why this is kind of silly. Well, the whole thing with her, and then all of a sudden, Spider-Man's captured, looking for Reinhardt because he found out who he is. And then he runs to the Kingpin. Yes, first time since issue 162 of this very book. And takes him on to 197 in sort of a final battle before he goes to brief retirement. Yes, he fights it for a while, and then basically surrenders to his beautiful wife, Vanessa. And of course, basically, oh, and by the way, who is Quinn Zemeckis? Who is Reinhardt, you might ask? Quentin Beck, the original Mysterio. Yes. You see, they had another guy pose as him, thanks to Jameson. And then, of course, apparently they had it where he faked his death. Yes. Excuse me. So 198 and 199, we deal with Mysterio. And of course, he knocks out the blonde guy. Who is this guy, you might ask? Well, it's the burglar. Yes, this blonde guy who had a gun when he first showed up here in this storyline. He is the burglar. And you're thinking, the burglar? What are you talking about? This is the man who murdered Ben Parker back in Spider-Man's debut appearance in Amazing Fantasy 15. This is his return. And by the way, at this point, this is around almost this. At this point, he had been gone from comics for 16 years. 16, 17 years. So I guess I figured, okay, let's have this big issue. Let's have Mysterio basically battle Spider-Man for a couple issues where he battles, the burglar. Here's the strange thing about the burglar. To this day, no one has any idea who the heck this guy is. Stan Lee never bothered to reveal it, neither did Marv Wolfman. It's just the burglar. That's what he referred to it as. He's just an unnamed burglar. Oh, and by the way, they revealed the actual reason why in 200 of the reason why he murdered Ben Parker. Why he broke into the Parker house. Yeah, in this double-sized 200 issue. Yeah, so, and of course, he asks about Aunt May to some of the residents. Yeah, and then the burglar breaks out. Of course, basically, Peter kind of suspects that possibly that Aunt May is alive. Well, possibly he goes after, looks through Reinhardt's stuff, and discovers possibly a warehouse, and takes a guy. Basically, it's like revisiting Mr. 15. Yeah, and then of course basically sees him. He's like, "You killer! You filthy murdering killer! I'm gonna pay for what you've done." What? You killed my Uncle Ben. You murdered my aunt. Yeah, he gets into a brawl with him. Yeah, this is a guy who's slightly older than Peter, and Peter's there almost home until he gets whacked with a frickin' pistol. And he tied up. Yeah. So he breaks out, rips his clothes, because he loves doing that. So, then we have sort of a, Batman meeting Joe Chill moment here. And then we go, oh yeah, she's alive. Yeah. So, The reason why the burglar murdered Ben Parker was over money. You're thinking, wait, did Ben Parker owe the burglar money? Nope. Apparently, some 1920s gangster buried his fortune in the Parker house. Yes. Where the heck money was, they don't specifically go into it. And I'm like, that's the reason why he broke in? Because he found some gangster? Alright, so. Yeah, and then of course, basically, then Peter has one woman that fights him. He's like, and they ask him, like, Ben Parker's like, yeah, and of course he asks the question, why are you so interested in Parker? And then trying to take out his mask because I care because Ben Parker was my uncle. He's like, what? And he puts his mask back on, signs a flash over him, and then basically inadvertently causes him to have a heart attack. And he dies. He does not get resurrected, does not get cloned in the clone conspiracy stuff. Oh no, he stays dead, and of course he's gone for good. And then we have Annual 13. It's like, okay, we have this really somber, and we have the 13 Annual for Amazing Spider-Man. Yeah, but this was a really good annual. Yeah, and he does not come back. Nope, he's dead. Well, he does have a legacy. A daughter named Jessica Cardane. She's still very much around, though she was taking people into the 1990s. Yeah, she's around sporadically until like Sister Spider number 6. She's around very briefly, and I do mean very, very briefly. She's around from November 1985, and her last appearance was in July 1985. Basically around for like a year. Yes. Yeah, and here's the strange thing though. Aside from the fact he's died, mostly players come back in flashbacks, but he's never ever been cloned. Nope, never has. Excuse me. Yeah. It is quite interesting. The fact he's one of those characters who is still dead. Yeah, he only exists in flashbacks. He's never ever come back. Seriously. I think because of how well received 200 was received at the time, they're like, nope, we're not going to do this. We're not going to bring back Ben Parker. He's done. We're burying that thing for good. So yeah, the whole thing with this 13th annual, it was all something from a story back in the 50s, where we have this, it involves a story involving Dr. Octopus, which continues on the annual. We have this man named Kent, who basically wants Peter to go undercover to investigate who murdered a Secret Service agent. And of course, this guy at the end of the story admits it, but he's bound Dr. Octopus. But the story continues in the first annual for Spectacular Spider-Man. Yep. Yeah, it continues in this annual. Which, by the way, these annuals are really, really good. It is interesting, though, they did this for the first annual for Second Spider-Man. It's like, okay, let's have it continue from the annual for Amazing Spider-Man. Okay, fine. Yeah, so it goes after Dr. Octopus and this thing. And by the end of the thing, they do conclude this story. And you're thinking, okay, so we did this 2-part annual, but wait, there's 2 more issues left. Yes, and they feature the Punisher. For the first time, he's appeared in this book since issue 162. Actually, it was 168 was his last appearance. Yes. And you're thinking, really? Yeah, really. Yeah, I think the Punisher's last appearance was back in actually an issue of Captain America. Yep, that's where he just appeared in issue of Captain America. His last appearance was back in Amazing Spider-Man 175. That was his previous appearance that he had. And then pretty much after this 2-parter, which appears in the next issue, there's also a guy named Lazar Jacob. He just disappears as 2-parter, and he's taken out. Then after this 2-parter, he's not seen again. Well, I'm not counting that book per se. Yeah. If you're really curious of like what was his next appearance after this 2-parter? Well, in between his appearance in, well, actually in Giant Size Spider-Man number 4, which I think I covered this one. This is the debut of Moses Meganium, which I don't think these books would actually cover that one for some reason. Yeah, I think it was debut of Moses Meganium, that one. Mm-hmm. Then he comes back in the first scene for Power Man. He appears in like 2 comics, Mar Preview, number 2, Marvel Super Action, but then after he appears in that book, and he appears in Amazing Spider-Man in number 15. Yeah, that's actually his next appearance in that very book. And he appears in 4 straight issues of Daredevil, and then he appears like in 5 issues of Spider-Man, and then he gets his own mini-series, comes back to Amazing Spider-Man a few issues, and then he gets his own solo book. Oh. I mean, yeah. It's a very interesting 2-parter, per se, and I think it's the first Marvel one's ever written the character. But yeah, these 2 books in particular, they're both really good, and that kind of in a way ends the book. Yeah, I'm going to give this Masterworks a 10 out of 10 because it's really good. It resolves a long-running plot thread. Next thing we have is, I was planning to review this last episode because I thought I reviewed Volume 10 already, but turns out I didn't. But here we are. We have Masterworks Uncanny X-Men, Volume 11. Yes. This contains issues 189 to 193 of the Uncanny X-Men comic book, the 8th annual X-Men Flight miniseries, which that one, it's found out that Madeline Pryor is pregnant she's pregnant with Scott's child, which of course Rachel Summers is in these issues, and she thinks it's supposed to be her, but nope, they confirm it's a boy, and she leaves. Yes, that's the whole thing with that one. Kitty Pryde Wolverine, this miniseries first appearance of a character who pops up in the Death Wolverine miniseries, Ogre. Yep. But in the case of the main issues themselves, the main issues, not many in this book. No, it's only like 5 issues, which is really short. It only covers from January to May of 1985. Yep. So right after this very good miniseries, which, by the way, in case you're curious to who does the writing for this miniseries, it is Chris Claremont. He writes pretty much everything. He writes everything you see in this book. It's all him. The Uncanny X-Men issues all drawn by John Romita Jr. The Kitty Pryde Wolverine miniseries, that's done by Al Milgrom. I believe this is the book where this is the first book I believe Kitty Pryde, something called Kitty first time. Paul Smith does the two-issue miniseries X-Men Alpha Flight, and Steve Lathina does the annual. Yep. Yeah, the whole miniseries, Kitty Pryde Wolverine, it is really good. It is, I believe, the second miniseries Wolverine's actually had at this point in time, because it's just a team-up book. Yeah, Ogre is just an enemy who, I think after this miniseries, he's been appearing again for years. Mm-hmm. And then we have Uncanny X-Men 89, where we have The X-Men deal with more members of the. We deal with Rachel Summer. She's a hound. Because you get these marks on her face. In case you're curious, does it have been some more? No, not really. So basically, I think Storm is officially back with the X-Men in these issues. I believe so. I think so. No, she's not back with the group yet, but they do in fact have it where Selene joins the Blackfire. She married Avian Pages and Mutants. Selene joins the Hellfire Club with this issue. 190. Oh boy, 190 and 191. This is a two-parter involving a character known as Karen Goth. Yeah, they say this guy is an imposter. But here's the thing about this guy. Now here's the thing about him that I found so fascinating. This guy is a Conan Barbarian character, and yet he appears in this book, and Marvel's like, click this no problem because it's an alternate version of the character. Not the same with the stories. Oh no. And here's the strange thing about this guy. After this two-part appears again in Paradise Herald's first two issues of that miniseries, and that was it. Yeah, it's basically a reality alternate thing where he takes control of Manhattan for a couple issues. Oh yeah, and the main guy focal point is Spider-Man. Yes, Spider-Man, otherwise known as the cursed Man-Spider. He's around for this two-parter, and he's the first person to realize that something is wrong with reality. So, yeah, of all things, Spider-Man? Yeah. So then, of course, basically, we have what were Logan and Shockout rejoin the team, and they deal with Magnus. Yes, the relative of Warlock. I think it's his father. Yes. So they deal with him, and then the annual, excuse me, it just basically just Kitty Pryde and her dragon, Lockheed, for a single issue. And then we have 183, the last issue in this book, the doubles, and the reason why this is only 5 issues, because the Doubleshot issue is supposed to celebrate 100 appearances, 100 issues, featuring this lineup of X-Men, since issue 93. Well, 94, actually. Yeah, that's really the whole point of it. It's a double-sided issue. It features the first appearance of Firestar in this issue. Yeah, this is her debut appearance. Though, chronologically, her first appearance was actually in miniseries Firestar, which did take place before this, but this was her first appearance. Firestar had actually appeared in the... it was the Spider-Man Amazing Friends TV show, and they basically brought in this very comic book. Yep. And after this, I think she got her own miniseries, but she never joined the X-Men until, like, the 2000s. Yeah. Yeah. But she's part of the Hellions, our debut appearance. And she does stuff nowadays, not a lot. She's not made many appearances. No, yeah, I was correct about that. After this issue, she appeared in her own miniseries, popped up in Avengers West Coast for 1 issue, 2 issues of Mighty Avengers, Mighty Thor, and then she appeared in New Warriors, which she was part of the book practically up until the very end. She officially, and of course she's part of the Avengers, she didn't join officially the X-Men until like 2013, when it was Amazing X-Men stuff. She's never a member of the X-Men. Never. Despite the fact she's kind of considered a member of the X-Men, but she never was. Yeah, it wasn't until the first issue of Amazing X-Men she finally joined the X-Men. Yeah. It took until 2013 for her officially to join the roster. Yeah. After she first appeared back in 1985, she didn't officially become a member of the team until basically almost 40 years later. Yeah. And I have no idea why the heck basically I thought this was a good idea. Like, okay, let's have her basically join when Jason Aaron's in the book. Yeah. And if you're curious, though, what's the most recent appearance she made? Well, X-24. Yeah, she's part of various other books, and she's kind of part of the main team since issue 13 of this current volume. That is. Yeah. Excuse me. Yep. And that's the book itself. It's really good. Thoroughly enjoyed it. And now, officially, next time I cover both these two books, I can move on to the next volume without basically going back and cover this book later. So, yeah. I give Masterworks Uncanny X-Men, Volume 11, a 10 out of 10. And here's something. Now, Volume 12, I have technically viewed only 2 issues in this book so far. And you're thinking, which one, you might ask? Well, excuse me. I have reviewed the last 2 issues published in that book. The rest of the book I've not reviewed already. So, with that book, I will definitely pass issue 200. But I have not reviewed all of that area yet. No, I haven't. And you're thinking, why is that, you might ask? Well, I just honestly haven't. Well, it's going to be quite interesting if the trade that comes afterwards, which is Volume 14. Yeah, that's going to be quite interesting to say the least. Mm-hmm. Yep. Which that one I'm only going to cover about five issues of that book, and then go to another trade paperback, and then like something else. Yeah, but I did find a trade that had the missing issues that basically covered the area before my next Epic collection I'm going to cover. Yeah, I did find that, no problem. Mm-hmm. Yes, that's going to be quite interesting to cover that one. Yes. Even if this book came out over 20 years ago, but it could be quite interesting to cover that book. Yeah. So, I'm going to wrap up here and go ahead and watch the final 2 episodes of The Mystic Academy. Okay? See you.